Regenerative medicine is one of the biggest helpers out there.
It's really exciting.
The ethics have got to be there for the firm that I work for. Any of the release testing that we do, it's done here in-house, and that's a really big deal.
Dawn Holts is the Director of Operations at Amnio Technology, with expertise spanning biotech, quality management, project management, operations, and technical training. She holds a PhD in performance psychology, a master's degree in psychology, and is also a certified tissue bank specialist. Amnio Technology itself is a clinical stage biotech firm focused on regenerative medicine. Dawn, welcome.
Thank you.
Dawn, you bring experience across diverse sectors from biotech to human services. What drew you specifically to regenerative medicine and in general, and Amnio Technology in particular? And how does your broad background and education shape your approach as Director of Operations?
So I've been working in medicine for basically my entire career. There have been a couple of gaps where I've ventured into something else, but medicine overall. I started my career actually in chiropractic, which is a very naturopathic measure of healthcare. And then I moved on to the military, the Navy, where I was working in medicine in just diverse aspects, everything from obstetrics and gynecology to emergency medicine. When I transitioned out of the military, I was again working in medicine, obstetrics and gynecology, then emergency medicine. And my family needs kind of dictated that I had a job that didn't pull me away quite so often. And I transitioned over to, I found plasma. So when I was working in that field in quality, I found out, I just learned more and more about it and how much it helps people out there that need some kind of a solution that wouldn't be available if we didn't have donors. I grew with that particular organization, and then there was some streamlining of the organization, and I transitioned over to Biotech, where we're working with human cell and tissue products. So that's just kind of how that progressed. And while I've been in human cell and tissue products, it's very similar to the plasma industry with the regulatory. But what I really, really like about it is I'm now in a place where I'm directing the development of these new drugs and other regenerative treatments. Regenerative medicine is in my opinion, one of the biggest helpers out there for people. And it's not as well known. It's becoming more well known, but it's not as well known as most of your mainline therapeutics.
100%. That's super fascinating on both the professional front and also on the regenerative medicine front. I'm a athlete. I've done jiu-jitsu for a long time. My body's all kinds of broken. And, in that area, in the athletics area, regenerative medicine is really huge. I'm talking about stem cells,
Yes.
peptides, all sorts of sort of alternative modalities, steroids, of course, anabolic steroids. And it's super interesting because you don't have to necessarily suffer with something, or you don't have to use some kind of very invasive treatment to fix an issue, or you don't have to age ungracefully. There's a hormone replacement therapy. So there's so much happening that is improving quality of life and extending life. It's really exciting. So it's really cool stuff that you're doing.
It's even more exciting because the regenerative medicine, where some of the mainline therapeutics, like you mentioned, steroids, when somebody's taking a steroid, yes, it kind of puts a Band-Aid on what's going on right then. You might feel better and you may be well enough to go out and continue to compete. But the problem is that steroids will actually degenerate the tissue over time. And therefore, you're feeling better. So you're getting degenerative effects and you're feeling better. So you're going out there and working on something that's still kind of broken. Whereas regenerative medicine, you can have the same kind of similar injections, same size, same site. And not only will you start to feel better because of some of the anti-inflammatory effects, but it regenerates tissue. And there's really no downside to it. So if it happens to do nothing for you, it did nothing for you, but it didn't harm you. It didn't degenerate your body or your body's processes. So regenerative medicine, like you said, it's very exciting.
Definitely. And, from my research about you, Dawn, your leadership style is emphasizing mentorship, professional development. What do you find personally the most fulfilling about leading, high performance, I guess, high stakes teams in biotech? And are there values or principles that you always try to uphold?
I do. I always like honesty and transparency are huge for me. And the ethics. The ethics have got to be there for the firm that I work for. I've actually left firms because leadership that was above me, their ethics were not aligned with my morals. They were a little bit lower than what my moral standards were, and some of the things that were going on, I was not able to influence them in a way that impacted change for a positive. And when that's the case, sometimes you just have to take a step back, and I've done that. It's rare. Most of the time, I can influence change in a positive manner. And I really, it's super rewarding working with new teams. I've worked for companies where, like as a traveling center manager, I would go into a failing site, and I had to hire a completely new management team, not because I fired the previous one, but because there wasn't one existing for whatever reason, for whatever process failed at that particular facility. So I've hired and trained an entirely new management team. And I like to emphasize cross, collaboration across different areas. So there's a lot of communication involved. And again, just continue to inform the ethics that we want to have there in the facility, honesty, integrity, and get these guys to be transparent and communicate in a positive way with their teams as I'm communicating with them, so that you get the same message across the organization.
Yeah, and you know what you made me think of, Don, and this wasn't even one of my questions, but it just came into my mind that we have a client who we service, which is Echelon Front, and this is Jocko Willink's leadership training company. He's a former Navy SEAL,
Yes.
and you were in the Navy, and I'm just curious how that background has shaped your professional outlook.
So I've actually had some really awesome leaders in the Navy. And yeah, that would be kind of where that outlook on leadership and communication came from. And having a positive affect when you're at work in the workplace. It's funny, my ex-husband used to tell me, Dawn, you go to work and everybody thinks you're just happy, and then you come home. And I used to tell him, yeah, I don't get paid to be happy at home, so you got to get things right for me to. But that aside, my home things have my thoughts on how I interact at home have become much more informed by good communication and finding a way to communicate as well. But in the Navy, one of my favorite chiefs, he really used to take the time to sit down with us and help us understand how we needed to communicate with our teams. And the way that he interacted with me really informed how I interact with my teams now.
Interesting. Yeah. Sounds like extreme ownership is at work here. And as far as Amnio Technology goes, so coming back a little bit to the company, who is your ideal customer? If I understood correctly, you work primarily with distributors, right? They're the ones who resell or distribute your products. What does that partnership look like? And are there characteristics or needs you especially seek to serve or collaborate with?
So for the most part, the current products that we have on the market are membrane products. So they are really good for wound care. In particular, insurance really dictates a lot of who our customer is and why, because reimbursement, you've got to make money to be in business. Even if that's not your primary focus, and the owner of this company, it is really not. He's a very giving man, and he's a doctor that wants these products out there so that the end user and the end customer can really benefit, and get the healing that they deserve. But again, if you don't make money, you can't be in business, and you can't impact anybody in this world.
Right.
So we do partner with distributors, and we're very particular. We have an onboarding process. So when we bring somebody on, they have to be a true company. We do that kind of research. They have to be understanding. We train them on the ethics in this particular community, what is right, what is wrong as far as billing insurance goes. And we make sure that they're a business that's going to be able to promote the product wherever they are in an effective and ethical way.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned in our last chat that it's also that you send them through your e-learning portal, that you have some internal trainings there, but it's really for your customers to understand the product and the regulations. Because I imagine this is a heavily regulated, possibly even over-regulated, well, that's a separate topic, industry, where you have to be really careful lest you get sued or worse, right? Or come into some kind of criminal lawsuit
DOJ
or
is
whatever.
yeah, DOJ is real. You are correct. We use WordPress so that we can publish our trainings, and we again make sure that all of our distributors go through that so that they understand what the regulations in this environment are. Because again, it is a very highly regulated environment, and yes, also in some cases over-regulated. To such a point that we've had products that have been on the market, our liquid products, for instance, they've been on the market with no adverse events for more than 10 years. So that shows that they're safe, which is really what the FDA is out there to do, is to make sure that products are safe. And yet those products, we've gone ahead and removed them from the market because the FDA has changed their stance on what these products are, and still hasn't even been able to exactly identify that, but we are still being required to go through clinical trials, which cost millions of dollars and take many years.
So you said you use WordPress and LearnDash, and to be
Yes.
transparent, I found you through LearnDash. Do you actually charge separately for the e-learning component, or it's just part? It's just
No,
part of the product sales.
we are so concerned with making sure that those people that we partner with understand the regulations, that we offer that for free. We require it and we offer
Sure,
it for free.
makes sense. Okay, cool. And they have to pass
They have
like a
so they
test.
Exactly. So they take the training, and then we have a test to make sure that they have, so we can document, we make sure and we can document that they have retained the material. And it's not a long test or anything, but it's there. It's a little quiz. And the wonderful thing about WordPress and LearnDash is that immediately after the person has completed and met the appropriate requirements, we receive an email, right? So the customer doesn't have to do anything, and we can go right on in and we can look and see that their results are there, and we can move them forward in the process to expedite, streamline and expedite how we onboard these new distributors.
Yeah, definitely. The model is the business model kind of a recurring. I'm curious because I would imagine with something like this, you could have recurring contracts where your distributors buy X quantity, X number of units per month, and you have that on sort of, it's, yeah, like a retainer of sorts.
Recurring order. So most of our customers, we do set up contracts with each customer. Obviously, it's good business practice, and we do have minimums. Our minimums are very, very minimum, though. We provide price cuts as you increase how much you purchase.
Preferred
So
rates.
yeah, so we've got tiered pricing basically. But when these guys come on, usually a business starts a little bit slow when you're brand new. That's how all businesses are in any industry. But then they take off as these guys get more customers, and as a provider becomes more familiar with the product, the providers will use it more, and thus the orders to us increase. So having a standing order doesn't fit that need. So each month they will, and you can order more than once a month.
So you do have some level of predictability and ability to forecast that generally people aren't going to decrease their order size. Although I suppose
Right.
that must happen too. But generally over time, the trend is to increase.
Exactly. Exactly. And we ask that the distributors actually forecast, because the distributors will know better than we do if they're taking on a new customer. And so I need them, because this is maternal material. So it's not like something I can just go order extra out of my supply chain. You've got to kind of predict, um, for manufacturing purposes. So we ask for a 90 days advance orders, but we're able to fill them a lot quicker than that. And we ask for predictions or forecasting about 6 months out.
Mm, that's really interesting that I wouldn't want to say you put the burden on them, but it's essentially, it makes sense for it to be their responsibility. And it actually helps you understand your production capacity and so forth, right?
Exactly. Exactly. I can forecast. In fact, I have customers that um, I'll see their trending in how they're ordering, and I will tell them, hey, and it's not because I want to make more money, but it's because I don't want them to run out of supply. And I have not run into a situation yet where I haven't been right about what the forecast should be or what they should be increasing their order to. We don't, all of these products expire, but they do have a 5-year expiry on them. So I don't want anybody to end up with something sitting on their shelf that's going to expire. So I don't ever tell somebody, oh, just go ahead and order this huge amount
Of
when
course.
I don't think that they will honestly need it.
Of course. which comes into the ethical business part.
Exactly.
Don, are you able to discuss, without getting into specific numbers, any key company achievements? For example, clinical milestones, patents. I believe you had a recent patent for an amniotic allograft, which just sounds
Yes.
cool. I'd love to hear about that. Or just any growth metrics that you're proud of, year on year
So
revenue, et cetera.
So not only are we in the middle of this clinical trial, we've completed phase 2 as far as getting all of the data collected. We're in the process of reviewing that, but we have had the product classified as a regenerative medicine,
Mm-hmm.
and a regenerative medicine advanced therapy, to be exact. That's an RMAT, and that's kind of a big deal in this field. So we're very excited about that. The other thing that we have done, same year that we got the RMAT, we also became accredited by the American Association of Tissue Banks, AATB, which is the gold standard in our particular field. We have to pay to have them come audit us, so we pay someone to come in and put us through extra through a once over. They come back and they audit us every couple of years, and we have to meet certain standards for them that are above and beyond what's required of the tissue banking industry. So those were two huge accomplishments that I spearheaded. We also have our own in-house analytical laboratory. We built that out here. Again, the owner of this company is very generous and he's forward thinking. And we determined that there are some things that we send out for because the FDA requires a CLIA certified lab for certain lab results, but we built out and run our own analytical laboratory. So any of the release testing that we do, it's done here in-house, and that's a really big deal. Again, I believe we have, the patents have been going up in number, but we have close to 20 patents here. And they're for a variety of things, but we have patented our the process that we use for manufacturing. So that's kind of a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's kind of a lot going. Like I said, we're a little company doing a lot of big things.
It sounds like a very exciting place to work.
It is.
And but I'm sure it's not without its challenges. And as a quick prelude, got a quick FDA story for you. It's not going to be as exciting as probably some of the stories that you've got, but I have a friend here in Thailand who was making sunscreen, reef safe sunscreen. He was producing it in his own factory in house in Thailand and selling it in the US through Amazon. Doing very well, but come to find out that sunscreen is FDA regulated. It's not like a soap or even a deodorant, which are not regulated in the same way. And so in order to keep selling his product, he would have had to go through prohibitively expensive third-party testing. So it essentially just killed that part of his business entirely. And which, okay, that actually makes a certain level of sense to me because there's a lot of endocrine disrupting chemicals in all sorts of commonly available products. That's becoming more widely known now, I think, which is great. But it's just pros and cons, right?
Right. So when we recently rolled out or divided out our cosmetic firm, so again, I'm the director of operations for not only Amnio Technology, but for NP Cosmetics. NP Cosmetics develops cosmetics that have biologic components. They have amniotic fluid in them, which is regenerative.
Mm-hmm.
But when we did that, we've had most of it's skincare products. So we've got daily hydrating serums. We've got professional serums to be used with aesthetic treatments. We've got creams and we've got lotions. We've got facial cleansers. We've got lash and brow products.
Is that your
Anyway,
secret?
I do use the products personally. Absolutely love them. But when a lot of our customers ask for something with sunscreen in it, and like you described, it does take additional testing because that's considered an OTC here in the US. So, and that's above and beyond the MOCRA. MOCRA is fairly new to this industry. And those are the regulatory requirements for the cosmetic industry. So when we make a little bit more money with that particular company, we'll start with our sunscreen type products.
Of course, makes sense. Speaking of making money, if any type of, let's say, sales funnel, sales strategies do you employ? For example, you just mentioned a quantity upsell. which that's awesome, right? Do you do any kind of, let's say, uh, systematic sales around upsells, downsells, cross sells? How do you maximize customer lifetime value? How do you ensure there's a stable recurring component? And what are sort of the sales strategies that you employ to effect?
So it's different on between the biologics company and the cosmetics company. In the biologics company, we are really fortunate because we basically have customers that just kind of fall into our laps. This morning, I was in my email from the website and somebody was like, "Hey, I want to try this product in my area, a new distributor." And
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't out there advertising it any more than having a website. And on our website, you cannot purchase the biologics products because, again, we have to make sure that you're the right person to purchase our products. Anyway, we don't really have a huge sales strategy other than promoting quality. Our products, when you talk about human cell and tissue products, they are, by definition, they have to be minimally manipulated, which means that I can't add to them, take away from them. Basically, I recover the material, I clean it, I package it, and I terminally sterilize it. Um, However, um, there's good tissue manufacturing that requirements by the FDA. We manufacture above and beyond those requirements. If you walked into our house and saw how we did things, the facility is much like a pharmaceutical production. When we go out there and talk about our products, we talk about the quality. There is a much lower risk of recall with our products because of the way that we manufacture. We don't release anything until it's been quality reviewed on multiple levels, which should be a requirement of good tissue manufacturing as well. But we are very, very cognizant and careful of that. Our documentation is unquestionable, and we have a quality management system in place that is beyond reproach. We really don't have to go out and advertise much or market so that we can get these distributors in, or even direct sales to doctors. It just kind of happens because word of mouth. We've been on the market. We're one of the longest standing tissue banks on the market at 11 years now. So it's just really a matter of having high quality product and listening to what the customer wants. We did change our packaging to be better than most packaging on the market. You can drop it right onto a sterile field. Whereas with other products, you need a second person to come in and open it and drop onto a sterile field.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Like if you just have one true North Star in business, just keep making your product or your service better. You're doing this well with just inbound and referrals. How well would you be doing if you also were doing outbound and direct sales? Probably, double, triple, quadruple, 10x your business. But I guess you're moving at a pace that's comfortable. You said you're a small company. That could always be a bolt-on later on. And the process of, bringing on, like, customer sends an email or submits an inquiry form, how automated, because you also mentioned in our previous call that you like to keep a human touch. That's obviously
Yes.
very important in any kind of business, but particularly in a business dealing with such, let's say, high stakes products. How is there an approval flow? Are there automations internally that you use to streamline your work so that you have humans in the loop, but they're not doing unnecessary grunt work?
Because we're a smaller company, very little of our process is automated. We are working on that in the manufacturing side right now. We recently took on manufacturing of the liquid product. We used to have that done through a CMO, a contract manufacturing organization, but we've recently taken that on ourselves, which has been a really big deal. And we are automating all of the documentation that goes with that. But as far as like new customers and sales goes, we do have a process where the customer service agent enters all of the information, but then some of those same customer service agents will be the ones filling the orders. And we have some very large multi-million-dollar orders that go out. So it's a big deal. But yeah, it's very human touched, human interface. And I know a lot of people now kind of like AI or being able to just text something or email it. And you can email an order in. The orders get emailed in. My customer service agents receive them and they put them in the system. But you can also call and you're going to be able to talk to a real person. And when we're onboarding a new distributor, that process is very manual. I talk to those people. I spend time on sales calls with them. We invite them to come visit the facility if they want, so they can walk through and see the quality. I will go as far as if they have end users, like if a distributor has doctors that want to know more, rather than the distributor having to go out and do all of the work and educate them, they're welcome to invite their doctors to our facility. I'll get on calls. My VP of science will get on calls with them and explain the process, how they use it, what we value about our product, all the quality, any of those questions. We have a paper system, so my quality manager manages the process of onboarding and makes sure that we have done everything, including the training, that we've received all of the documentation that we need to make them a distributor, and that they've got a welcome aboard package that sends them through all of the processes that they would need to do ordering or to answer any questions.
Amazing. Now, from your vantage point also of overseeing the tech and the operations, what tools, obviously in addition to WordPress LearnDash, what tools are central to your business, like technical tools? CRMs, email marketing. I guess you probably use something like Udo, whatever for manufacturing.
So we use master control. So the manufacturing process it's a very manual process because you're working with birth tissue, and there's just not a lot you can do to automate. We do have some automation in the process for the mixing and for the filling. We've developed some things like that streamline the process and make it easier. It's one touch, documents the time, documents the user. It's fantastic.
And so that's on the manufacturing side. And on the web side, what kind of technical obstacles have you had to deal with and overcome as far as the website, as far as the training, updates, crashes, any of that kind of stuff?
There are very few. It's been very consistent as far as our training goes and the availability of that. I think the only time that we've had it go down maybe once or twice in all the years that I've been here. And it was more, we needed an update. And so we now have somebody that manages all of the updates, and we make sure we get those on the regular, and we're able to. But there was, even then, we were able to do a back end fix for temporary until we got the updates installed. So yeah, the training is very stable. The website is very stable as well. We don't do a ton with it. So there's not a lot of updates or changes. We don't keep blogs on there or anything like that.
Brochure site, basically.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly what it is. So again, that's also very stable, and we have IT in-house. Now for the cosmetic company, we're in the process of developing the website there, and we've actually hired that out to a third party who's he's also working with all of our branding and getting that up and going, but you will be able to purchase on that website.
Okay. Is it a WordPress based site? Is it a Shopify site? How are you guys running that?
I believe that one is a Shopify based site because we're including the purchase piece of it. And that was with this particular vendor worked with when you have a purchase piece available.
I'm curious to see how that'll shape up.
We should have that done by the end of the year, which is coming right up.
That's right. Okay. So what does the future hold for you, Dawn, and for Amnio and for NP Cosmetics and your other endeavors?
So Amnio Technology, we are trying to influence the regulatory processes, and we're hoping to see some of those not gone, but again, maybe downgraded or deregulated a little bit so that we can get these fluid products out into the market a little bit sooner. But we are also pursuing continuation of this clinical trial so that we can get into a phase 3, and whichever way it goes, whatever gets done first, we want to get this drug out to the market and have that influence the health of the community. So there's a lot that goes with that, and we're very excited about it. We will continue to sell our membrane products and hopefully continue to grow. On the NP Cosmetics side, we are excited about. We have a whole new product line that we're going to be launching in February timeframe, late February, early March. We're very excited about that, and hopefully that company will then take off. Also, once we get that website up and going, because that's a sales website, we'll have another website that we'll be launching for the company itself, NP Cosmetics, so that we can better advertise the fact that we are a CMO for cosmetic products, and we can develop your own personal line for you. Personally, I just launched my own business, DMH Performance, so that I can help people in EMS, in military and veterans, And in the aviation area, they're very high performers and they need a little bit of extra help identifying that there are obstacles out there and that that there is somebody there to help them so that they can continue to perform at a very high level with a lot less stress.
Sounds like you've got a lot on your plate and you're keeping super busy. This was definitely one of the more unique interviews that I've done on one of the more unique businesses. So I wish you guys all the luck and thanks so much, Don, for coming on.
Well, thank you. Have a great day.